discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another Top 10, and this Top 10 is not really that special because I actually stole the idea from Rado. He recently did a Top 10 games that, you know, when I was watching it, I was like, that's actually a really good idea, because as with Rado, now I'm not as big as Rado, though I really would like to be, I do the same thing he does. I try to get the latest and greatest games out there, so people can see them, because that's what people want to see if they're popular. And so I look at all the games that I have, and I'm like, man, I really want to play that one, but I need to play this one, so I push other games aside. And so and funny enough, some of these games on this list, I almost actually played very recently, but we just didn't. And so this is a top 10 games I wish I played more. All the games on this list I have played at least twice, and some I've played a little bit more than that, but because they're so good that I wish I can just play them all the time. And two of these I have done run-throughs for, and I'll mention that whenever I get to them. But without further ado, let's get on to number 10. And number 10 is Rune Wars. Now, this is obviously not the box that it comes in. This is a really useful box that, at the time, I would put almost any game that had an expansion in one of these to organize it. But I've done away with that. But this is one of those games that I organize. Rune Wars is a game set in the Runebound universe. And, you know, it is just, like, I've played it twice, and I don't know what it is about it. I like the idea of, you know, the fantasy universe, of course, and how each minion or each faction has several minions that all have special abilities that are very useful. And you set them out, and you are trying to get these runes, or dragon runes, I think is what they are, that are randomly across. And you also have your own little hero, a hero from the Runebound universe that goes on quests and stuff like that. But one of the coolest things about this game is how combat is done. Now, once again, this is the top 10 games I wish I played more, so I might be a little bit fuzzy on a few of them. But some games, whenever they have a lot of combat, is very difficult to do if you have a lot of people. This one, there's actually its own sideboard. You pull them off, you have a little token that marks, hey, this is where the battle is happening, and you pull them off, and then you attack each other. And I think that's just a nice thing to have, because you will have a lot of units. But another cool thing about this game is there are seasons. Like, there's events that happen in a particular season, but you know kind of what they're going to do. Like, for example, in winter, you know, the lakes are going to freeze over, which means you can now go across them. But also, okay, you need more food, so you have to feed your people. And it's kind of resource gathering to where you need wood and food and stuff like that to be able to supply your army or get better equipment. But it was good enough to make this list because I've played this one probably the fewest out of, almost the fewest out of these. I just really wish I could play it more, but I never get to. And I've only ever played it with 2 people, so I'd like to play it with all the factions, which I will do at some point. But that's my number 10, Rune Wars. Number 9 is a super fun game that I've played actually a bit, but more by myself because I just, no one ever wants to play it. And that is Space Alert. Now, I also have the expansion for this. I believe it's Space Alert, yeah, the New Frontier, that I just have not done. I haven't even gotten a chance to do it. And it breaks my heart because this game is so fun and so thematic. Like, you truly feel you're on a spaceship that's getting attacked, and you're like all over the place, like you would be running to fuel to get the energy to the laser so you can fire and shoot them, but you can't. You know, you need to deal with the people that's boarding now. And I can't even remember what the New Frontier brings. I believe it brings like a journal log or something like that. I know when I do a run through for this that I will be including that. But it's also one of those games that you don't want to play with two people, which I played with three. Luckily, I've played this game with three people. But with two people, you both control two people, so you have four, and that is just too much to do because there's a lot of communication that you have to do to be able to do what you need. It's like, okay, I'm gonna run down here, and then, oh no, I've already done, and I can't do anything there. It's just very thematic, and that's why it's at number 9, because I wish I can play it more, because with the soundtrack and everything, it just gets super intense, and it's real time. So you set everything up. There's basically two halves. One half is you're doing all the real time stuff. Once the time is over, the second half is you see how well it all plays out. And I just really like this game. But that is my number 9, Space Alert. Ugh. Number 8 is a game that I heard a lot about, and at first glance I was like, there's no way I'd like this game. But as my tastes grew and evolved and I started dabbling in a little bit more, I actually really like it. But I've only played this game once, and even though I have the expansion for it because I'm stupid, that would be Roll for the Galaxy. Now this game, I just think it's super, I wouldn't say clever, but I will say it's very, very, very clean. And what I mean by that is that, one, it's not that difficult to learn. Like, you have your dice, and your dice can do certain things, and then you are trying to, race for the galaxy, trying to expand and get as much stuff. But each tile has unique abilities that allow you to do stuff, and you get all the different colored dice mean something to be able to help you, and then there's resources and stuff like that. And one, I just think the different dice is cool, and being able to chuck dice. And the biggest problem I would have with this game is that it does rely on trust, but just don't play with people who cheat. But this game, I've only ever played it once. And I want to play it more because I really, really liked it the first time. I just really liked rolling your dice and doing the best with what you get. I think that's a really good strategy. Yes, it's random, but dice happen. So if you're like, okay, I really, really need to produce this turn. Oh my god! But if you play off other people, well, in a 2-player game, no, actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you can play off each other almost. You have the 5 actions where if you do an action, it becomes available. So let's say I choose to do production, but someone else doesn't, but they assign a dice to it because they hope I'm going to produce. That allows them, and I think that's really, really cool. I think that allows a lot of player interaction because you have to get into the minds of like, okay, what do they need to do? They need to ship off some people, so they need to go find someone. I also want to do that, but I don't want to set the action. I also really want to settle. And what you get with the dice and obviously all the different tiles mean something. And then I have the expansion as well. I believe there's only one, Ambition, which didn't add a whole lot. And that's how you know, in my opinion, the crux of a good game is if they have expansions, it's literally just to make the base game, have a little bit more. Which, I mean, obviously that's an expansion. But some games have expansions that either just add way too much gunk and clutter up the already good game, or the good game wasn't good enough, so they add an expansion to make it better, or the expansion is completely unnecessary. This one, the expansion was unnecessary, but you can add the stuff just if you want a little bit more, but you don't have to because the game is already good enough on its own. But I only have played it once, and I want to play it again. Once again, this was another game that I almost played, but it was too late in the day to actually play it. But that was number 8. Number 7 is once again another game I've only played once, which is probably going to be a recurring theme. Yes, it is. But the way that this game works and how thematic it is and how not even really confrontational it is, which is a nice thing in a non-co-op game, and that would be the cave. Now, I believe this guy also did Adam Kaluza. I believe he also did K2. For some reason, no, don't quote me, but I believe he did K2, which was about climbing mountains. This game is you are a somethingologist, a guy that jumps that delves into caves. What is that? That is a speleologist. So you also learn what that is while playing this game. So you are a speleologist going and you delve into caves, and it's actually quite nice. You just go into the cave and you have your resources and stuff. And everything is random. You just get a different layout of the cave each time, and then you can go for different goals. You can go for to get points. You're trying to get points, so it's like, okay, well, I want to take a lot of pictures. I'm gonna try and beat someone in picture taking this turn, or I'm gonna try and beat someone in descent. I'm gonna try and go. I'm gonna go as far down as possible. And it comes with the soundtrack, which is super nice to make the game. You get very, very immersed into the game because you hear like the dripping of water echoing throughout the cave, and I don't think this game probably wouldn't be as high on this list, even though it's only at number 7. Sorry, it's only at number 7. If we didn't play with that soundtrack, and I've only played this 2-player as well, so of course with more people you have more of the cave to explore, and you can follow people. You can be like, oh god, okay, well I was going to go that way, but it looks like there's a lot of squeeze tiles, so. Thank God you went there, so I'm not going to go that way. Or you can, but you're not going to get as many points. But it makes it easier on you because you don't have to spend an action to explore either. Explore and then also probably not be able to do it. There's also a sense of push your luck as well because you have food and you have a backpack that you can carry either all food if you want, because food you need to eat as you go further. But you won't be able to climb, you won't be able to go across water because you don't have a raft, you can essentially take the pictures if you bring your camera. But there's a sense of push your luck because it's like, okay, how do I want to ensure that I'll make it back to camp to resupply, or try and go 1 or 2 more and then come back and just get a little bit more and get a little bit more points, or and just kind of barely make it back or not at all. And the inventory helps with that. You are able to customize your own inventory with rope, food, or rafts and stuff like that. And you can also pack up the camp, your tent, to go later on, so you have a little bit more stuff to take with you, and then you can set up your camp later on and stuff like that. I just think it's a brilliant game. I thoroughly enjoy it. I would like to play. Oh, you can play with 5 people. I'd like to play with 5 people. Because I just feel like it'd just be all that more immersive. But that is my number 7, The Cave. My number 6 is another game that I almost played over the weekend, and I was actually pushing for this one a little bit more. At least I was able to open the box and just explain the game before we ended up playing, of course, something else. This is one of Sam Healy's favorite games from the Dice Tower, and obviously with the expansion, and that would be Kingsburg. Kingsburg is a nice dice worker placement game where you are basically preparing for invaders. The realm of Kingsburg is under attack. So you have the board is basically all these advisors, and you roll your dice, which are also your workers, and do a combination. It goes 1 to 18. You have 3 dice, so you can roll, obviously 3 6s. And once you roll your dice, you assign them to any combination. If you roll a 1, 3, and 5, you can go to 8, or you can go to 9, or you can go to 4, or spread them all out, go 1, 3, and 5. The problem is they only have time to, I believe, deal with 1 person. At least in a 2-player game, they only have time to deal with 1 person. So it's like, okay, I really need to go see, whoever the smith, I don't know, the smith this turn to get my production, so I can build my build this building. But hopefully no one else does, because if they go, then I don't get to go. And brings a lot of interesting elements to the game to where, because you all roll dice, it's all random, but that also determines where you can go. You can go for the quick, victory point by using a wand to go to the jester, or combine that to go somewhere else. And you need resources. You also build these buildings, and there's a chart. And with the expansion, I think it's called to Forge a Realm. With the expansion, you get more buildings to build. So I will never go back. I will always have those extra options. And the expansion actually brings a lot of cool stuff too, like beginning, I guess leaders is really what you would call them. But I believe you get like 3 to pick from. There's a deck of them, and you deal out 3, and you pick which one you want to start with. I believe my girlfriend, Kat, picked one that gave her like starting 10 victory points. And that was a huge boost. I ended up winning the game, but it took a lot for me to catch up to her, because that was a lot of points. And I mean, for those out there is combat, but you have to prep for it. And the expansion does bring a variant to where you just assign like their strength or something. I don't play with that one. The other one that I do play is like modular. You can change like what kind of buildings you can build a little bit. And there was something else. There was something else about this game that I really liked. Other than it was from the expansion, and of course there's a lot of crap in here that it was, oh wait, nope, yep, I remember. Events happen. So yeah, so you have, like, for example, the miner. At the end of every year you receive a gold. At the end of year 4 you receive 1 extra gold. So those are super cool. And then yeah, events, or things that happen that just, add more to the game, where people first see the board and they're like, oh, I don't want to play that, that looks stupid. Well, I mean, it's not. I guess the board does kind of look stupid if you really want to get picky, but I think it's a lot of fun. I'm starting to like worker placement games a little bit more. This was also one of the first ones that I got, but it's also super simple to teach, and super simple to play, and it doesn't take that long. I believe the box says 90 minutes. That's about right. So about an hour and a half. If you really know what you're doing, I can probably shorten it to an hour. But that is my number 6, Kingsburg. This is the last one. This is the last one that I've only played once, and I don't even have it as a rating on Board Game Geek because I messed up on the rules to where I was like, well, I can't give this an accurate rating, and that is Athleta Duel for Divinity. Now, the backstory to this game, not the backstory, but like the story for this game is just really cool. You're a young Athelian, so basically you're a deity, or what do they call those? Whenever you're half god, you're, well, they call it Athelian, but for some reason I cannot think of what it is. Whatever Hercules was, and then he became a god. That's basically what you are, and you have to go through this ritual, this trial of creating beings to fight for these runes to be able to go to heaven, or god area. This is such a unique game that I've played it once, and I don't know why, because you build your creatures. You have a bunch of deck of cards of types with all unique abilities, of other things like arms, legs, like abilities, other things that you can give them, and weapons, and it's all from scratch. And I think that's super cool, because then you're like, okay, well, along with event cards that you can play at any time on your turn, I believe, but they go in an order, you choose all that too. So you construct your army from the ground up as a god would, and you pit them against your opponent. It's only a 2-player game, and so it brings up really interesting things, because it's like, okay, do I want to go with all quick creatures to rush out and grab these runes, but they're going to die real quick, but I can bring them back because they're also cheap? Or do I go with tanks? Do I want to build a whole bunch of tanks that are slow moving, but they can dish up damage and also take damage? And then, or do I want them to fly? Do I want them to teleport? Do I want them to be able to swim? Stuff like that. Terramorphing is also part of this game, where you're like, because your people, unless they can breathe underwater, they drown. They take damage and then they eventually die if they go in water. And the game starts with mountains, and it's all on a level playing ground, but there's some water and some mountains that you can adjust and adjust. I guess it works the same way. So you can terramorph and lower the ground and have water pool out into, so you just have this, you can have a huge lake, or you can raise it all up so it's all mountains, and people who fly can deal out, or you can move around the battlefield, stuff like that, or you can have people who can run through mountains easier. The possibilities are pretty much endless, and I just think that's a really cool concept. What I did to not merit a rating is I gave my guy, I think, extra arms to be able to hold, like, basically, I think I made him with 4 arms, and I think I had him hold 2 axes and 2 shields, for more attack and more defense. But I don't think you can do that because the way combat works is a little bit different. So I believe you can only ever have, like, 1 weapon, if I'm not mistaken. You could have, like, a close-up weapon and a ranged weapon, I don't know. You can't have 2 close-up weapons, I know that, because that was pretty much what one. You build 3 different types of creatures, or all the same if you want. And that basically made me down to 2 because one of them was useless. Other than that, the way I'm raving about it, I could see it. Once again, I'd have to play it again, but I really like this game, and I've only played it once, and I don't know why. I don't know why. Like, it's making me sad that I've only played it once. But anyway, that was my number 5. My number 5, Atlas Duel for Divinity. What the hell are those gods called? They're not deities. That is a god. A demigod. There we go. I need to start with a D. Anyway, speaking of demigods and gods, that brings me to my number 4. Again, okay, now I've played these games at least 2 or 3 times. My number 4 is Elysium. Okay, so first thing, as I heard all that noise, I do gotta say, one of my favorite things about this game is the inlay. It's so organized and looks like one of those temples. Like, I'm gonna try and raise it a little bit so you can see. But yeah, it looks like one of those those temples. And I have played this game twice, and it only has 2 players. I have to play this with 4. Like, I have to. The variety and replayability that this game brings with 10 gods, I believe. Let's see, let's see if I can do it. So you have Hades, 2, 4, okay, so 8 gods. God, yeah, you have Apollo, Hermes, that's, this one would be, I want to say, okay, so this one's Hades, then Athena, Apollo? No, I already said Apollo. Nope, which one's purple? Zeus? I can't remember. Yeah, Zeus, Poseidon, this one would be Ares, and last but not least, you have, let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh, go figure on the last one. I wouldn't be able to find it. God damn you. Hephaestus? Hephaestus, is that how you... I believe that's who this is. But you have those 8 gods, and you choose, I believe, 4 of them to play with. So you have 4 decks that you combine for a radically different game. Like, I believe they draft, but I always do random just because that's who I am. But the rules come with, I believe, 4 options of what you can do. There's 4 of like decks you can combine for different types. Like if you want strict victory points to go after, then you can do these combinations. Or if you want alternate ways to win, other than just going and grabbing victory points, there's decks for that. If you want huge confrontation, there's that. Then a lot of powers, there's that. And it's just so cool. One, the theme alone is amazing. But it's interesting because it's like you have your side, you have your basically the common area and stuff where you can use different sorts, and you have your Elysium, which is where you're going to get your points through chronological order or same type. And if you're the first to do yada yada, you'll get more points. But if you have a person that you're really using their ability a lot, but you need them in your Elysium, you don't get to use their ability anymore. And it brings up all these interesting choices you have to make. It's like, okay, do I want to grab the points now and be the first one? But man, I'm really using their abilities. And then obviously you can play cards against other people to make them lose stuff. Very confrontational. And I've played this twice, both as two-player games. And they were completely different each time. The first time actually Kat won, my girlfriend, and the second time I won. It's just so cool because the cards you pick, it's card drafting in a sense. There are cards available to you and you have the 4 colors, yellow, green, blue, and red. And each card requires a certain number of those. And so whenever you pick them, you have to use those colors. So you have to get rid of 1 at least. So it's like, okay, well, which one do I get rid of? Because then I can't get these, but I also need those. But I also a lot of interesting choices. That this game is just fantastic, and the art's amazing as well. I believe this was in my top 10 art games because it's just fantastic. This game, I want expansions to come out for this game. They don't need it, but I want them to come out just to add more gods. But I really want to. I have a friend in mind that I really want to play this game with because I feel like he'd really like it. But that is my number 4, Elysium. All right, now my number 3 is a game I've done a run-through for. And actually I recorded this game twice, and the first time I messed up on the rules. Not really, I messed up at one point, which caused the whole game to just basically go down the drain after we already recorded, so we had to do it again. And that would be Fury of Dracula, the 3rd edition. Now I've never played the 2nd edition. But, oh man, if I had to do a choice between letters from hidden movement games, this one probably takes the cake because one, the theme alone I think is great, and unlike the game that comes to mind is Letters from Whitechapel. Unlike Letters from Whitechapel, where Jack is always running from the police and it's always a chase, this one it's a chase, and during the day, because there's a day and night cycle, which makes it radically different. During the day, the hunters definitely have the advantage against Dracula. But during night, yeah, I can continue running and I can actually move during the night. Or I can actually go and attack them, and I'm stronger at night, and I can bite them. That's how I get more points or whatever. I can't remember. Influence, I think. To be able to do that is amazing because I don't have to run, but how I move, and for some reason, my friend Luke just always knows where I go, but he doesn't know, and I'm really good at lying, so I'm like, I mean, yeah, it's whatever, but I'm really thinking, how the hell do you freaking know that? How do you know that I went that way? Place for place. And then you leave, basically, not clues so much that you're there, but you leave stuff for them to find. If they go to a town, you leave something there, and it's like, oh, ambush, or there's another vampire there that I'm trying to awaken, and it's just so cool. And the reason why this is number 3, one, because I really like this game, and 2, it's a number 3 because it's such a good game. And I've never played as the hunter. I'm always the hunter. I'm always Dracula, and I want to play as the hunter. I want to work with people instead of just sit there and be terrified that they're going to figure it out. And I'm not going to spoil the run through for you. You guys can go check it out and see how it plays and how it ended. It is a long game. It is a longer one of my run-throughs. I believe about 4 hours, which is about right with 5 people total. But the deduction, the combat, it's almost a rock paper scissors style combat with a little bit more. Is just really, really nice, and I wish I could speak more for the hunters. I know the hunters, they each have unique abilities that are awesome, and if you utilize them and work together as a really good team, you should do very well, but that's for Dracula, because everything is on the open. Dracula hears, obviously, everything that everyone's saying, so he can plan accordingly. So basically he has like spies that tell him stuff, and I just really like this game, and it's a shame I don't get to play it more. But that is my number 3, Fury of Dracula. My number 2, there's almost a reason actually why I don't play this game as much, and it's because I believe you can play it with 2 people, but you really shouldn't. You should almost play this with as max people, and I love this game so much, but it's so stressful as well. And that is, oh jeez, heavy. Cosmic Encounter. Second game I've done a run through for. Dear God, first I gotta say, no 2 games are the same. Never have words been truer spoken on a board game. Absolutely right. There are like 150 different, absolutely different races. Well, I can't say that for sure because I haven't played all of them. But I've played a few. And with this game, I want to play this more so much because I just want to play all the races. I want to play all 150 just to get a radically different game, to see how they work against each other, see what happens. But the reason why I don't play this game as much is, one, because you should play with at least 4 people. I don't think this game scales well per player. And it's also one of those games that they have a shit ton of expansions. There's another one coming out that bogs the game down, I think. Now, not saying that the expansion stuff is cool, and you obviously don't have to play with them at all, you don't have to play with all of them together, but I kind of think with how many races there are, you don't need the other stuff. Because, it's just one more thing to remember, but it's just, this game is also very, very cutthroat, very mean whenever it comes down to it, because there are some races that, for example, there's 3. There's 3 that come to mind. There's one that when he attacks someone, if people don't ally with him, he gets to destroy their ships. It's like, what the, really? It's like, I can't, you are going to lose if that's why I'm not allying with it. It's like, alright, fine, either you help me win, or your ships die, even though they're gonna die anyway. It's like, you piece of shit. The second one is, I don't remember the names because there's so many. The second one is, and it's like he attacks someone, and I think I remember, he attacks someone, and either the person he's attacking has to let them win, or they get to take the attack card and basically add it to their race. So whenever they attack again, that number gets added to their attack card. I believe Kat had that race, and I think she played a 20, and I was going to win, and she's like, okay, either you let me win, or I take this card and add it. So she would have always had a plus 20 to her attack cards. It's like, what? What the, no, fine, you win. And then the third one, I remember this one because I had it. It was called Rage. And the story behind this is, I was winning. I think I had 3 or 4 galaxies, colonies. Someone had to attack me. Everyone allied with him and won. Of course they won. Rage's ability, or Hate, his ability was called Rage. Hate's ability was that on my turn, I can optionally discard a card, and if people couldn't discard the same card I had, or the same type, I got to destroy 3 of their ships, wherever they were. I had the Morph card, which is the only one in the game, unless the expansions added more. At that time, it was the only one. I discarded it. No one could discard that card, because obviously they couldn't. And, oh man, I was sitting there when they were attacking me. I'm like, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not mad. Did that. Basically, with the one, I wiped them off my planets. I'm like, okay, you're all dead, and I took them off almost everyone else's. So if they had 3, they went down to 1. I screwed them over so bad that game, and it was, oh, so glorious. But it gets very cutthroat, very mean. Another one is losers. If you lose, you actually win. Just, they're all so different, and it's so cool. And I want to play it more because there's 150 races. I want to try them all. And I want to be like, this one's my favorite. This one, absolutely. Right now, Rage is my favorite. And I've played with maybe 5 different races. But, yeah, I want to play this game more. Not as much as I want to play my number 1, which is, my number 1, Twilight Imperium. By far, like, this game, and the reason why I don't play this game as much is because it takes 6 or 7 or 40 hours to play the game. And so, that's why I don't play it as much, but I love this game so much. It is probably, of all the games I own, it is the most epic game out there. For me, like, you're gonna have an epic, glorious galactic fight or colonization. And with the expansions, it just makes it so much better because the expansions are there. And you can use them if you want, but you don't have to. The expansions add, more technologies, they add more objectives, they add just the expansions and variants, I also mean. More to the game than just going out and taking over planets. It adds people like radiation in the planets, or there's people that are obviously going to resist you and stuff like that. And the coolest thing about this game, well, one of them, is that all the races have unique abilities, and there's such expansion to the stories of the race. Like, I read the rulebook story, like each expansion has like a little story in the rulebook that I was reading, and once I finished, I was like, what? I want to know more. I need more. So I was like, I want to actually like read a book about these. And so the race's backstory works with their ability. It's like one of the races like a turtle, and they were like oppressed, and they were actually really smart. So I think they became unoppressed through political actions, and so their abilities were more political heavy, which is really cool. And I had that race. Which is another really cool thing about this game is the politics. Like most games, yeah, I mean, of course you can fight, but whenever there's politics that create laws that affect the whole game, or you can vote for people based on the planets you have, and you vote for people, even yourself, I just think that's really, really cool. And there's obviously tech trees, and there's just so much to this game that I wish it was shorter, honestly. Like, it's such a long game that you have to pretty much take out a day. Last time I played, I made an event on Facebook to get my friends to come over. Set aside a day to come play this game. And I want to do that again at some point because you have to. Like, this game is so epic, and it's in my top 10 games of all time. And I believe it was number 3. I can never remember the order of the games I put in. My top 10, you'd think I would. I know it was definitely top 3. I can remember if it was 2 or 3. Because every time I play this game, it's just always close, and it's just always just awesome. But that is my number 1 of games I wish I played more. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what games that you wish you could play more, or what you think of the games that I put on this list. Also, if you have any ideas for top 10s you'd like to see me do, just let me know in the comments as well. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you want to help out the channel, I have my Patreon link right there. If you want to make some suggestions on board games you'd like to see us run through, I have my board game geek list right there. And if you want to just, like the Facebook page, I have my Facebook link right there. And have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.